Okay, let's see if this is any better. I'm hoping. All right, fingers crossed. Let's see. So far, so good. All right, well, we'll just keep our fingers crossed, everyone. Okay. Well, I'm keeping them crossed. I changed the latencies, so hopefully it'll buffer a little bit better. But we'll try this again. It's always something, it feels like, when it comes to technology. But one of these days I'll have it figured out. It probably would help if I actually got a camera to stream with versus using my phone, but we're not quite there yet. I'll let people attempt to trickle back in. I don't know how. Sometimes I'm hoping this restart helps. Audio is still good. Let me just make sure I haven't switched my microphone accidentally. Yeah, okay, that looks good on my end at least. All right. I don't think you missed much. We've just been having a lot of technical difficulties. Audio's fine, some pauses, but we will deal. Okay, well, hopefully the replay will be a little bit smoother, and if it ends up not being great, I can do like a 5-minute or a short video on the update portion. So, still skipping. Dang, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Do you think the music is giving an extra juice? I don't think it is because it's a downloaded like audio file, but I don't know if I can pause it. I might be able to stop the audio and just see, but it's like a local downloaded, so it's not pulling in the music to stream. So I don't think that's the issue, but anything is possible. And I'm using my normal settings, so I don't know what. All right, well, thank you guys for sticking with me. I'm sorry for the issues. I don't know what has changed. Okay, well, at this point, I think I'm just gonna press on and hopefully the replay is okay. And then if not, I'll just do an updated version. But if it gets too bad, let me know and we can just, I don't want it to be like jarring for you guys watching it. So if it gets too bad, I understand if you need to drop off. So, okay. Recap for maybe those that joined that didn't see take 1 of this. I have been back in my traveler's notebooks. It was an accident and a bit of an aesthetics jump. We'll just put it that way. I was going through the notebooks that I've been using so far this year, and it I just saw some things stacked together, and before I knew it, I was back in my passport. This I have set up as a bullet journal, and if it's the same general setup that I've been using since January. I've been dipping in and out of this bullet journal, but I did set up a fresh insert for Q3. And annual book is what stays in my bullet journal all year. This is monthly spreads, collections, habit trackers, primarily. Anything I want to see throughout the entire year is in the front. And this is one of my favorite things about bullet journaling this way. And quarterly book is short-term information. So this is weekly spreads, daily logs, monthly habit trackers, anything that I just need to kind of get through my current month. And I really like this particular setup because I can go through several inserts throughout the year, but they all thread together neatly and I don't worry about running out of pages so much. So I think that's kind of where we landed. And the last thing I guess I was saying is my pocket bullet journal versus my passport bullet journal are very similar. They really are just like duplicates of each other. I bullet journal the same way no matter the format. But the thing I've enjoyed since being back in the passport again is at this point, this is my most complete record of 2023. And that is what I prefer. Okay. 1 second. Let's see. All right. YouTube is giving me a better suggestion. Let me see if I can figure out how to change this. Let's see if I can figure out how to change this. I think I might have figured out what's wrong. 3,500. Let's see if that's better. I don't know if that actually changed anything, but YouTube did give me like a better warning and I changed a setting, so maybe that's better now. You guys will have to let me know if it's still ending or not. Any better? This is just going to be a fun little stream, isn't it? We'll have to do a redemption stream. Hey, Melanie. Seems okay for you. All right. All right. Well, we'll try this. I changed an actual setting this time, so hopefully that was what we needed. Okay. Woohoo! All right. 30 minutes in. So, all right. I think I figured it out. Yay. Thank you guys for bearing with me. Melanie, I think I saw a question from you on part 1 about pen loop for traveler's notebooks, and my general hack has been I'm using an underlay from Traveler's Company, but I just put a Leuchtturm pen loop on the back, and because my pen has a clip, this works a little bit better, and I just keep that tucked in the back. And so when I'm grabbing for it, it's easier. It doesn't wiggle around because I'm kind of pinching the notebook, or I'll use a Traveler's Company clip to hold it in place if I'm out and about. That way my pen, it'll kind of flop around, but it's secure. So that's my personal preference. I don't like the Traveler's Company clip very much. But I am liking that. I do the same pen loop trick, but I stick it to a folder instead of the underlay. That's a good idea too. The one thing I like about the underlay is if I'm in the last couple pages of my notebook, I can pop it out, or it kind of just faux creates that flat surface because it is an underlay. But that's a great idea too. I'll have to try that sometime to stick it on the folder. But yeah, so that's been my passport. I did trim down a Hobonichi Weeks pencil board to passport size, and I like using these behind pages where I watercolor just to protect the page behind it a little bit better, and it keeps things like a little bit smoother when the watercolor dries, because I have a bit of an oxymoron where I like to watercolor. Watercolor inherently warps if you're not warps paper if you're not using watercolor paper, but I hate that. No, they're not the same width. They're actually pretty close. I can show you compared to a Weeks here in a second, but I did trim down top and bottom. This is an old one. I think it was like the 2020 cover. Here's compared to a Weeks. The Weeks is just a touch wider, but it's very similar. When does TC release annual stuff? I just checked last year, and I think it's October officially, but I pre-ordered from Yoseka in the end of September. I think it was like mid-September. I actually just checked last year's planner to see that, because I was like, when do I need to start paying attention to that? So I think it releases October, but I saw some partner shops doing pre-orders mid-September. So that's what I'm going to start looking out for. But if anyone knows the exact date, feel free to let us know. But yeah, there's something about Traveler's Notebooks. I really just like the in-hand feel of it, and I am easily influenced. And I get influenced when I see people who have been in Traveler's Notebooks for years, like Jane the Crazy and Job's Journal and Abby C, and people who've had their covers for years and years and just continue to use them. That's something that I always, wish for myself, and kind of one of the reasons I end up back in Traveler's Notebook. Okay, so 30 minutes in, I think we can switch over to my standard, hopefully. So I've been using standard as my journal and memory keeper, and this has been a bit of an experiment because I typically struggle with standard size, but as of last night, I think this is my favorite part about being in a Traveler's Notebook again. So this is my olive cover. It looks quite... I like the color of it, but it is more of a brown-based green. And my charms on here, I've got two different ones, both from BK, Baumkuchen, that are nice and patinaed at this point. So in here, I have been keeping this super lean. I've just got 2 paper inserts, and both of them are from Traveler's Company. I have the dated vertical weekly insert, which is what I've been using for memory keeping. And if you've kind of followed along with my planner stuff this year, I had about a 2-month sprint using a A6 Techo Avec, which is a daily page, and I was really enjoying memory keeping daily. But since moving back into a weekly spread, this is so much easier for me to keep up with. as much as I really enjoyed having the daily page, it was like, oh, okay, I can be done in 5 minutes if I want to be done in 5 minutes. And that's, I think, what I'm liking about this. So this is pure memory keeping. None of it's pre-planned. I come in usually before bed and I will update day by day, or if I get behind, maybe I'll do 2 or 3 days at a time. But it's a mix of drawing things or printing out pictures, as you've kind of seen, a lot of watercoloring, using some character stickers again. I've been kind of off the character stickers lately. But I am enjoying it. I did start using, one thing about the dated version of this insert is down the side you get all these mini calendars, which I could go without, to be honest. I'm sure they're helpful for somebody, but not for me. But I've been using the current week as a little habit tracker, using a Zig Clean color dot marker to mark them off. It's this guy here. I'm using the black one. I think I got it from Jet Pens, but that's what I've been using, and just to dot like sort of a weekly focus habit off. And this is my current week. And then in the front, there is a year at a glance and next year at a glance. And I've been doing the same like 1 monthly habit that I'm tracking using that same marker. And actually, I realized I can check off yesterday as well. I'm doing dry July this month. And this spread I didn't use, so I have more or less filled out the first half of last year. I've got a couple spreads to finish, and then I think I'll do a flip through of this so you guys can kind of see. But I didn't use the spread in the first half of the year because it feels more like a pre-planning spread, and I don't use these inserts for planning. So I am indexing what I'm journaling about in my other insert, just like if I wrote that day, what did I write about, and filling that in, and I'll decide if I think I want to do a color code or something like that. But for now, it's at least I'm writing something in there so they're not blank, which makes me happy. So okay, so the next insert is a Travelers Company MD Cream insert, and I put the sticker on. It came with a dated vertical insert this year. And in here, this is my Dear Diary journaling, is kind of what I call it. And I'm using my fountain pens in here. I absolutely love Midori MD Cream paper. It's probably my favorite. And I'm double spacing. So this is a completely blank insert. There's no lines, but I'm using my underlay behind the page and writing 2 rows per space. This is a 5mm grid, so I'm writing like 2.5mm grid and liking how it's looking. But I just use my fountain pens in here, and I write and draw and sketch and watercolor and kind of put down whatever I'm liking. This is the newest part of my system. I've only been in this for about like a week, but I have really been loving it. I think this is my favorite spread. I've been really enjoying it. I use my Trodat mini dater. I can show you guys. It's from Amazon. The number is 4810. And that's just how I'm indicating when I start the next entry. This is just sort of like a messy watercolor page. But here's where I'm currently at. I've also been doing these like little mini sticker collages because I'm trying to work through, I have so many stickers I just need to kind of use up, so. But yeah, so that's where I'm currently at. I think I would get like 2 or 3 months in this insert, but we'll see. I've got several to kind of work through. So one thing I'm trying to retrain my brain on is sticking to an insert and completing it. I think eventually I would like to get a Good Impressions insert with a grid, because it's a bit it's quite the setup for me to get this in here and clip it and write and stuff. And it would just be nice to have a grid notebook. So I think after this one's over, I might move into a grid, but I'm trying my best to see this insert through. That's my goal. Finish this insert before switching journals, and then we can kind of see from there. The underlay I'm currently using is the 2023 one. I kind of like collecting these. I think it's going to be my new thing if I stick with Traveler's notebooks. And then I did the same thing where I took an A5 Hobonichi pencil board and I cut it down to standard size. They are the same height, but not the same width. And again, I use this behind the paper only when I'm watercoloring, just to keep the page as flat as possible as it dries. And in here I have the zipper case, which is probably one of my favorite inserts from Traveler's Company, because you can use them as dashboards, but I've got just some stuff that came with the dated insert this year, a Polaroid from my trip to Iceland last year, and a couple Traveler's Company postcards that came with one of my orders that I've just got popped in on both sides. And then I have a paper clip, and this is where I keep my underlay clipped to it for some reason. I like that. And yeah, so that's been my journal. I think what I'm liking about this is, one, I'm really liking just having an undated journal insert, and I'm really loving having cream paper, and how slim this is compared to, say, my Hobonichi cousin. It's not super lightweight because it's a leather cover, but it's very slim. And I like that about it. Like, I think it would just be easier to travel with, but in general, it's just lighter to carry around the house because my notebooks go with me several places. So yeah, right now I'm really liking these two, surprisingly, which is kind of comical because I was trying to just stick with this system in June. Did not work out. And now we're back in July. But okay, so there's those two. I think we could maybe move on to everything I've tried this year, if you guys are still interested in seeing that. Is the video quality better before I just assume that you guys are okay? Yes, all mode now. Yep. Okay. All right. I'm glad we figured out what the issue is. So thank you guys. Okay. So here's my graveyard. It's pretty much all Hobonichis and my bullet journal. So I think we'll go in chronological order, more or less, and we'll start with the planners. So I started the year off with this guy, and this is the standard size Bunnies Weeks for 2023. And this I had intended to use as my main planner for 2023, and I enjoyed the challenge of seeing, hey, can I get my entire life to fit in a standard size weeks? But after I kind of realized, like, okay, I could functionally make it work, but the realization came pretty much mid-January that I needed dailies or I go a little bit crazy. And so that was kind of the thing. It was a fun challenge. I absolutely loved the cover. I loved trying the English version of the weeks this year. I love how these look. I could make it work, but there's sort of a balance between something functionally working for me versus having fun in it, and not having a daily. It just sort of killed the fun portion for me. So I have not touched this since I moved out in March. And I don't know. There's parts of me that every time I see the bunnies cover, I pick it up and I'm like, oh, I should just at least fill it out. But I just don't have time this year for as much backdating as I have in the past, which has been sort of a common theme. So this is pretty much abandoned, but it is my most complete record of December and January. So I'm not ready to toss this out because I'm still referencing these pages to get things kind of trued up. And I had some like nice spreads and stuff, so I'm not quite willing to let it go at this point. But this is kind of where we started the year off. So synopsis, fun challenge, love the cover, need a daily. So this one hasn't really been touched, but I do still love the bunnies cover. I think it's super cute. From there, on a planner front, we have my labor of love backdated Hobonichi Weeks Mega. This is the sneaker edition. This was my first attempt at a sneaker edition, and I was pleasantly surprised at how well it lays flat. I was a little bit nervous that the spine was gonna be more like a nuance cover, but it lays flat pretty much right away, which was really nice. And the nice thing about a sneaker edition is with the cover being flush, if you're a bit particular about matching your weekly spreads to color match that sliver of cover that shows when it's open, like for example, you see this sliver of that gray blue all the way around, and that's something where I'll kind of subliminally, I won't choose a clashing color. So this will, you don't see any of that. So it gives you, for me, it was a bit of a like, oh, that's really nice to not think about the colors. And I pretty much gave myself early onset arthritis by backdating this thing. And I spent like a good week and a half just backfilling this notebook and transferring things over once I realized, hey, I need a daily. And the worst part was that I did the dailies, so I'll just kind of flip through as I chat about it. But I copied dailies from my passport bullet journal into here, and just told myself, nope, I want to be back in a week's one big book for, one small book for everything. And but the thing that I kind of hit right away after moving back into this is I enjoyed the project of like backfilling and getting it up to date and having something to like play with, but it just sort of killed my creativity. I think it's, as much as I love this, it's sort of like a been there, done that kind of thing for me. And I know that this planner can work for me, and it allows me the space to do dailies, weeklies, monthlies. It's a very functional planner. It's a really good like one book for the entire year. But I think because I've done it, it just sort of lost its appeal. And another thing, since being back in a bullet journal, we'll kind of continue on the progression to the other bullet journals, is the weekly spreads. I go back and forth on this because sometimes it's a pro and sometimes it's a con. Having a pre-set up weekly spread can be nice because it eliminates some of that decision fatigue that I used to get while bullet journaling. But at this point, I think I'm what my current needs are is I want the control of being able to change my monthly and my weekly spreads as I feel like I need to, especially once I moved into the pocket bullet journal, which we'll hit up next. I got creative with weeklies again and my monthlies again, and I really enjoyed that. So I think for me, a Hobonichi Weeks Mega is always going to be like a good backup planner. Like if life gets completely crazy, I know I can return to this and use it. But for now, it really isn't sparking any creative juices for me. And that's half the reason that I plan in the planner community, is for that creative itch. And there's sort of two sides of creativity for me. There's the functional creativity, which is more setting up spreads, trying new layouts, organizing information. And then the artistic creativity of learning to watercolor, draw things, and all that kind of stuff. So good backup planner for me. Probably not, it just doesn't fit my current needs. So We'll see where I end up next year, but I did enjoy using the Mega, but I think I just prefer the hardcover in general, but it was fun to try. I'm gonna take a quick drink break. Okay, so between all of this, I was bouncing back and forth between my passport, so it's been a reoccurring character, but just the ones that I've tried and haven't used. This is my pocket or A6 size Leuchtturm 1917, and this is a sneak peek my patrons have seen, but I'm trying to open a planer shop here in the next couple months, and this is a printable kit that I've put together for archiving my pocket. So I've prepped this one for archiving, even though I'm still touching it a little bit. But I set up this bullet journal in April, sort of on a whim, and I really enjoyed kind of getting back to basics in a way. There's something about Leuchtturms that I love. I love cream paper. I know I'm in the minority typically there, but their paper always surprises me. It's just 80 GSM, but it holds up to my fountain pens fine. I could watercolor in it with, being conscious the amount of water I was using, but just in general, really enjoyed this notebook. And this is what I took with me when I went to Alaska as well. But I collected some stickers from some of my trips on the way in. But I'll just kind of flip through this setup here. I've got a few videos for this on my YouTube channel if this is more what you're into. And I can't really give a valid reason as to why I left this, so I think I'm going to be kind of jumping between passport and my pocket bullet journal probably for the second half of the year if I had to speculate. But one thing I love about being in this notebook is one, it's just a hardcover notebook, so it's very self-contained, and I'm less tempted to spend money on things, which is a huge pro for me this year. And as I'm thinking about next year, we've got some big kind of lifestyle changes upcoming, so what I'm spending on my planners is going to be more of an issue next year. So this is really nice for that. It kind of eliminates that temptation of, hey, I need a cover, or I want a new cover, or a new limited edition release of something. So that is nice about just being in a Leuchtturm. It keeps things really simple. I actually really kind of learned to love this 5mm grid. It gave my writing a lot of white space, which was nice, and you'll kind of see that as we get through. But I think as you can kind of recognize, a lot of those setup pages look really similar to what I had in my passport. How I bullet journal really doesn't change too much. It's just kind of what's the form factor. But here is my first monthly spread, and you can kind of see how I switched things up compared to how I was doing my monthlies in my passport. Just like smaller boxes, more sub lists. And this is where I kind of fell in love with the week on one page layout, and I've been experimenting with that a lot this past quarter 2. And here's kind of what I mean about having more white space with the 5mm grid. I think it's been surprisingly nice. It's easier for me to look at my list and see what I need to do, which is maybe a sign that I'm getting older. But after years of being in a tiny millimeter grid, because this is the same grid size as a Hobonichi Weeks, it's pretty small. It's just a little bit easier to look at this and be like, hey, what the heck do I need to do? And another advantage of this is that watercolor dries on here so much better, or not better, faster, because the paper is more absorptive. I think watercolor looks better on Tomoe River paper, just my opinion, but I'm very impatient. So the fact that things dry faster in here is a huge pro. But really the main thing, or I guess the reason I kind of continue to step away from my pocket bullet journal, it's like an aesthetics thing. Yes, absorbent. Thank you, Julie. That's a much better word. Yeah, it's really more of an aesthetics. I like the look of a traveler's notebook. I like the feel of a traveler's notebook, but I think functionally these work really great. They're really good on my budget, and I like how self-contained they are, and that sort of itches that bullet journal minimalist side of me when it comes to planning that I guess I associate myself with, even though having multiple planners is definitely not minimalist. But I have really enjoyed my time in this. I feel like I could see myself using this next year as well, but I also really have been enjoying my time in Passport this year. So, and they're very similar setups, so I kind of just jump back and forth depending on what I'm feeling. But I have been enjoying using this notebook in particular, and really fell in love with this paper because it has held up to things super well. Like you'll see here, these are some of my spreads when I was in Alaska. And I did a ton of watercoloring, and the pages are definitely quite buckled, but it held up like a champ. There was no bleed through, and I did a lot of this watercoloring real time, so I'm quite emotionally attached to this notebook because of that, I think. So I don't think that this one I'll definitely keep at the end of the year, just from that perspective of seeing the watercoloring that I did real time while I was on vacation. And more weekly spreads. I also like how lived in this feels. There's something about my traveler's notebook that feels a bit more polished for some reason compared to this. It's just a lot more messy. And I kind of like that. So. But yeah, so I have been keeping this up to date. And if you guys saw my Instagram, I did kind of start putting pen to paper for my next version of this, because July would be the last month I would put in this notebook. So if I move back to Pocket, I'll move into a fresh bullet journal. I've never had a traveler's notebook, but I really want to. They are really nice. It takes a little, at least for me, my personal experience, it took me a little bit to get used to strings, just navigating in them and using clips and things like that, or finding the right inserts for me. But a nice thing about a traveler's notebook is it gives you really good flexibility. So, but in a contained way. So what I mean by that is I really like ring planning. I used to be really into pocket rings if you've been around my channel for a while. And in fact, I got into planning via personal rings back in college. But ring planning is sort of it's too flexible. Like I could switch my inserts anytime I wanted to, add a section anytime I wanted to, gut my planner and completely redo it. And I would do that constantly, which sometimes is really nice, but other times was quite overwhelming. Where a traveler's notebook gives you that control of, hey, I want this insert, this paper color, this grid size, and you can almost find anything you're looking for in whatever layout you want. But having them, at least for me, I find just like a bound insert easier to archive at the end of the year, put that notebook in a box or on an archive binder or things like that. So watching these videos makes me want to use my TN again. I might need to buy yet another sterling ink in TN size for next year. Oh my gosh, yep. I feel that. I definitely feel that. But yeah, so to me, they're a good balance of, they're flexible because you can really switch things up, find the inserts that work for you, find a layout that works for you, but they're easier for me to keep at the end of the year compared to a ring planner. So that's probably like the main appeal of a traveler's notebook. And then also, I've mentioned this before, I'm trash for aesthetics, and I like the aesthetics of a traveler's notebook. It's very much like a fantasy self-planner. Like I want to be somebody who uses traveler's notebooks, and to me that there's like a certain vibe that goes with that. Okay, so I think that gets us through kind of the planner stack. So let's look at the journal stack, because it's been chaos. I hear you. I want to be a TN girl. Yeah, there's a good atmosphere about being a traveler's notebook person. I don't know what it is, but okay. So journal side of the front, I started the year off with a Hobonichi cousin again, and I have a bit of a love affair with the Hobonichi cousin because I have gotten one every year since 2019, and I completely filled it out in 2019, and I was obsessed with it. And this was kind of the notebook that got me into the planner community and had me kind of jump into making YouTube videos. So there's like a sentimental attachment for me and my Hobonichi cousin. And I go through different phases with this planner of loving it, hating it, feeling like it's too much room, feeling like it's not enough room. But I wanted to give it one more go because this will be the 5th Hobonichi cousin on my shelf if I keep it at the end of the year. So there is a part of me that really always had a wish in the back of my mind that no, I was going to use a Hobonichi cousin for 5 years and I'd have a huge stack of them on my shelf, and there's something really satisfying about that. Now, to be fair, I have 5, only 2 of them are full, and the other ones are varying degrees of fullness over the last couple of years, and even this one's probably only a quarter of the way complete, even though we're halfway through the year. But I always love this planner. I know there's a lot of other options out there in the community now that I would maybe consider, but to me, it's more of a sentimental thing. I think why I continue to go for a Hobonichi cousin. I like the cover, and I like the weekly layout, and I actually like a dated daily, and kind of all the little quirks that come with it. I quite like in this particular notebook. I use this very similarly to how I'm using my standard size. This is a memory keeping weekly. I had a lot of fun watercoloring in here this year. This is my absolute favorite drawing from the entire year so far. I got a new pair of Doc Martens, and I think that turned out super cool. It's one of my favorites. I was recapping my week in the sidebar at a certain point versus trying to use it for like a habit tracker or something like that. And I dip in and out of this. So it's something where even though I haven't touched it in a while, there are a fair amount of weekly spreads in here that I've kind of kept up with. And they are a lot of fun to flip through, and it's really satisfying to see them all on my shelf at the end of the year. But the main issues I had with this year was the daily pages, and that I found them a bit restricting, I guess is the best way to put it. So I'm just going to kind of flip through and chat through. I was journaling on the daily pages, and when I journal on the daily pages, it's sort of I do a lot of journaling, I guess is probably the best way to put it. So I will typically do like morning pages. I will do Dear Diary. Hey, I need to vent about my day. I will write memory keeping inserts. So maybe I'll print pictures and write about a memory. Sometimes I do creative writing. And in a blank notebook, I don't mind going kind of like one entry after another and letting them be a mixed bag. But sometimes if I wanted to do like 2 or 3 different types of journaling within the day, I would run out of space on an A5 daily pretty quickly. And usually in the past, that wasn't really an issue because I would go back to a blank page like this one and fill it out. But for some reason this year, my brain really got hung up on the idea of wanting more than a page per day because I was doing a lot of journaling. I really like the spread. I think this is my most liked picture on Instagram this year, which is fun or funny because it's just brown ink. But I collected a lot of paper bits from things this year and kept them in here. And really my thought process of moving back to the cousin was just having a one-stop shop for everything again when it came to journaling, memory keeping, keeping bits, printing out photos and all that kind of stuff. And I stuck with this off and on probably about through mid-March. And then I pretty much have stepped away from this until about the end of June. I think I touched it again or a couple spreads in July. But I do like this planner a lot. I like the dated daily because it makes threading things and referencing things quite easy. But I also found it a little bit restrictive where, hey, I want a bit more room than what I've currently got on a daily basis, especially if I'm in a journaling phase. So we'll see. But that being said, there's a ton of blank pages because I haven't used it, so maybe it wouldn't have been a problem. But we'll see. At this point, I'm really debating whether or not I will pick up another one for next year, because I've been so touch and go with it that I don't think I would. But I also, like, this is sort of like my planning mistress. I always come back to it. So it'll be a miracle if I can get away from it. I'll be really surprised if I resist purchasing one. But at this point, I think I'm probably not going to get another one, but they are really fun to flip through. They get really heavy though. Yes, and I am like totally fine with empty pages. I think the thing for me is when I'm using it, it's not enough space, and so I leave it, which then results in a lot of empty pages. But we'll see. It's a reoccurring character on my channel. I'm sure he'll be back. It is also like a big planner. If you're a one planner person, it gets really heavy by the end of the year too, depending on your level of sticker use and tip-ins and things like that. So I think in May, I picked up another experiment, and this is the A6 Techo Avec, which is the daily version in A6 size. So it's 1 page per day, and there's 2 books per year. And I was using the pocket bullet journal, and I was going through kind of a tough time personally. And when I'm going through something, my solution is usually, let's just distract myself with a new setup. So that's what this is. And I ended up really enjoying it. I found the A6 size page pretty easy to keep up with. And when I had this set up, I had a separate notebook tucked in the back for my Dear Diary journaling and all the other types of journaling. And this was purely memory keeping. So I was writing about the day, printing photos, painting things about the day. It was very that day focused, and recapping. And it was really easy to keep up with even when I was traveling and stuff. So that was nice. But I never quite found the right notebook to tuck in the back of the cover, if that makes sense. So as much as I was enjoying using this portion, I couldn't really find the companion that felt right. Now, I'm sure if with enough time, I probably could force myself into thinking something is the right thing. But I would print off like lots of pictures when I was traveling, and it was, I don't know. I really like this. I really enjoy it. I could see myself bumping back into this. I did start using the second half of the year a little bit in July, but for the most part, I've been on the Traveler's Notebook train, so I've been sticking with my standard size pretty well. But I do like this size. I tried using an A6 as my everything journal one year, and that was not enough space. But yeah, it's been nice. And it's Tomo River paper, so it's just fun to watercolor on Tomo River paper and things like that. Some of these spreads are messy. But yeah, I've got 2 solid months in here, and then I did move into the new book. And it's just super cute. And mine got really fluffy. I think ever since discovering Traveler's Notebooks, I just keep so much more stuff that they get really fluffy. So the Avec is actually quite nice in getting to kind of switch things out type of perspective. Okay, I'm trying to look at comments that I've missed really quick. I got myself a passport and regular TN in June, and I've been using them ever since and absolutely love the TM system. I do love a good TN system. I love when I have a full one single brand system too. That's also really satisfying. I'm using a Hobonichi Cousin as a journal. It's huge, heavy brick already. Yep, for sure. It's funny because I used to be scared of bound book notebook planner systems when you started out with rings. Yeah, I am definitely team bound book, but I think that's because the older I've gotten, I've realized that yes, during the year, you want your planner to be very functional, but I now also plan for what I'm going to get to keep at the end of the year, if that makes sense. And that I really prefer bound book. I just find them so much easier to keep at the end of the year, because if I'm going to pour this much of my heart and soul onto paper, I might as well be keeping it. So fluffy equals love. Yes, very fluffy. I think that's another reason I like how fluffy this guy has gotten too. My pocket, it's cute. All right, I think the last thing to touch on is my work planner, and this is my lone survivor. This is the 2023 January Start Mon Uncle edition, which I've been using as my work planner this year, and started in January, and it's pretty much the only planner that has survived the entire year. And I don't talk about my work planner a lot on here because I don't have a very good system. It's really more of it's a space for to-dos that come in via email, instant message, or action items from a meeting. And so that's really all it is. This is just a running to-do list of the things that aren't in the systems that my company uses that are like going to give me the reminders that I can see on our digital dashboards and things like that. So it's really just a glorified to-do list. And I've used it in a variety of ways. I've tried using it as a horizontal planner. My preference is typically a vertical planner, and sometimes I need my planner a lot at work, and sometimes I barely touch it. So it really just depends on the week. Like, as you can see, lots of blank, just didn't quite need it these weeks, and then other weeks it's just like a super mess of whatever. I pretty much just use a UniJet stream in here for work. I don't like waiting for ink to dry. And I draw in the vertical layouts. This works well for me because I work Monday through Friday, so that gives me a column for each of the days. I go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then a running to-do list for the week. And I could get a vertical planner, but at this point, it's just works so well. This is my 4th year using a weeks for work. So in a way, it's kind of planner piece. So I just try not to mess with it too much and go from there. The notes pages in the back are really just scratch paper. So I try to keep all my notes for work digital, or like typing them digital, because I do work remotely in IT. I'm a solution architect. So I work in like a code development atmosphere, and I work remotely or I'm traveling. So most of what I do, I need to have digital so I can export, send to people, have them set things up, etc. But if I'm face to face, like if I'm in the office having a meeting, I don't like having my computer out because it's distracting. So really these are just for notes when I am in person, like once a quarter, and taking notes in person meetings so that I can jot things down and not forget them, but not have my computer out when I'm trying to focus. So videos convinced me to try an A5 size again, so I just picked up the undated common planner to use for a course I'm starting. We'll see how many planners I'm influenced to use by January. It's dangerous out here, let me tell you. I started with the weeks and switched to the cousin for planning and journaling, and the dailies for more space. I do prefer the Avec. I think I'm slowly becoming Team Avex. And archiving rings stinks. Yes, I've not found a good way to do it that where I actually can go back and look at the pages. Otherwise, I think I would be a ring planner person. I also work in IT as a PO. What do you recommend for work? I struggle with the fact that I love taking notes and organizing notes, but the pace of the job needs me to take notes digitally. Yeah, I've been using the weeks for 4 years now, just because it works for me, just to keep track of the action items and touch points that I need to follow up on. But otherwise, I have to keep notes digitally as well. So this is just what's worked for me. Before this, I used a A6 Techo English edition, just a day per page. And that worked for me for a long time too. But now at this point, I can't get things done that I want to on a daily basis. So a weekly spread helps me see everything a little bit easier on what needs to get carried over week for week, or what I didn't finish in a day so I can tackle it the next day. So right now I'm team weekly spread for work. And I like the Hobonichi weeks because it's easy to travel with. I have a history of traveling for work. I used to travel weekly. Now it's only like twice a quarter, thankfully. But when I do travel, I want a planner that doesn't take up a lot of space. I do need to travel with my work planner. And this feels like contained and professional enough where I don't mind pulling it out at work. And they already know. Most of my coworkers know that I'm a crazy planner person. I'm known for my handwriting in the office. So, it's like not that much of a, I don't know, like a jump scare to people. I'm not like pulling out like a really, like if I pull this out, it like we're gonna lose time in meetings for me to explain what the heck I'm doing versus just like it's a notebook. And I pretty much just do pen only for work. Unless something really bad happens, and then I might pull out a sticker if I'm having a real bad day. but yeah, that's my work planner and my one single loan 2023 lineup survivor. It's the only one that I'm still in from January. All right, sorry, I needed a little bit of a drink break there. But yeah, so here's my very Hobonichi heavy graveyard so far this year. I guess I won't really consider this a graveyard because I'll probably finish out July just off and on, and then I'll put this on my shelf and I'll consider it archived. But it's been a bullet journal year, we'll just put it that way. So I think, because we've got some time, I was kind of thinking I'd be on for like an hour and a half to 2 hours. I could show you guys what I started for my next bullet journal setup if you're curious to see the chaos. As we've alluded to, chaos is kind of my middle name when it comes to planning, unfortunately. So another pocket-sized notebook. I think if I decide to switch back, I've been really liking pocket size just from the portability standpoint. I like small but mighty planners. And I have several of these in my collection, so they got to get used up one way or the other, right? So I went through last night impulsively. I always want to film bullet journal setups, but I just never get to it because there's something about setting up a bullet journal like on the couch at midnight that makes me attached to the notebook versus when I try and set something up on camera. It's just like my head is not 2 inches from the page, so the spreads don't turn out the same. I don't know if you guys are similar, if you make YouTube videos or if you try and do things on Instagram via Reels versus just doing something on your own. I find anything I do on my own has a better chance of surviving. It's kind of interesting, but I went through and sticky noted out the spreads I was going for. I would plan to move into this August 1st. Or the first week of August. Basically, I would move into this notebook if I decide this is going to be the thing. I went for a hardcover edition, again, dot grid pages, because I find the dot grid to be the least dark dot, depending on your notebook. I've actually had really good luck with Leuchtturms lately, having really light dots. I know sometimes you can get kind of a darker one. But, and then I take sticky notes and just kind of plan out what spreads I want to do on what, and then I've been slowly kind of setting them up. So I got about halfway through. I did a future log, horizontal. I'll probably stamp out the months. So this would be September, October, November. I think 6 months for a future log has been pretty good for me. So I did that again. A future plus, so anything beyond the next 6 months, and then I always leave myself space for my next bullet journal setup notes. And I did that in, where did I just, sorry, I'm like, if you guys could see my desk, it's hilariously chaotic right now. I did that in this bullet journal, I've done it in every bullet journal, but I like putting my future plus and next book next to each other because as I'm transferring these appointments into my next future log, I also can just jot down like I wanted to do my habit trackers differently. I wanted to add a check register for Lindsay Scribbles. I wanted to add a no spend tracker. So as I'm spending time in this notebook, if I'm like, oh, things I want to try or do differently, I'll kind of record here. So it's just like a one-stop reference page for the next setup. And so kept that up again. I've got my adulting log. I just set it up for the remaining months of the year that I would be in this notebook. Because I want to make a printable insert for this for myself for next year. Cycle tracker, I use a insert from Peanuts Planner Pillow if you're a human who menstruates. And this I just washi in so I can move it from notebook to notebook. So if I move into this, I'll pop this out and move it over. Going back to my annual weekly habit tracker. So instead of a habit tracker being like annual monthly, where it's the month at the tops, 1 through 31, I do Monday through Friday and then the week numbers. And I find that this is really cool for me to see patterns. Like for this is to track when I work out. So I did this in one of my old Hobonichi weeks. I think it was my 2021 weeks. And I could tell like, oh, I'm much better. Like I never get workouts in on Fridays. Maybe I should just pre-schedule that as a rest day, things like that. So I could see a lot of weekly trends looking at data this way versus this way. So that was something I wanted to do differently. That's something I don't want to talk about. Space for a date night log and a call log, which is something I've done I think in all of my planners for several years. I just write down when my husband and I go on a date night, and then when I talk to my best friend what we talked about. It's just helpful and fun to look back on. Gift ideas, spread, reading log, and then a bunch of check registers, because as much as I want to be a digital finance person, and I am for budgeting, keeping track of things, I just do better on paper. So just for different purposes, I'll have some check registers, and then we get into my, I haven't touched it yet. So I want to add like a Patreon page for checklists for perks, and a shop spending log. I need to transfer over the Stardew Valley info because I play a lot of that video game. And then I'll move into an August monthly setup from there. So that's kind of the general what it will look like. Very similar to this, but I just go through the spreads and say, hey, what did I use? What do I need differently? What worked this time around? What didn't? And go from there. But one of the cons, I guess, for me of bullet journaling and just like a traditional notebook is I never know personally where to draw the line when it comes to habit tracking stuff on an annual basis. So what I want to move to, if I stick with this, is doing more of a find a printable and washi taping it in so I can move it, or using removable adhesive from Tombow or something like that. So I can just move trackers from notebook to notebook. So I don't have to think like, oh, do I need to backdate that? Do I need to reset it up? For things that matter. Like my workout log, I don't need to really see the entire year at a glance. But my cycle, I do. This is helpful for me to see my entire cycle for the year. Same with like my adulting log. So I wrote it out this time and I wrote it out this time. But I think if I bullet journal for 2024 in not a passport, then I would do an adulting log on a tracker that I can move from notebook to notebook, or in like a separate insert or something, so that I don't have to backfill information, because this is helpful for me to see an entire year, basically. So, but yeah, and then in here I use my same pen, my Pilot Vanishing Point with Diatramentus Archive ink and extra fine, and it holds up stinking well on this paper, which I love. I watercolor on here, which I love. I use a, let's see, where are you? Tombow Fudenosuke hard tip brush pen for all of my bold font, and the majority of my sketching, like all of my doodles, are done with this brush pen. It's the only thing I know how to draw with, I think. But yeah, so anyway, right now I'm kind of like, ooh, shiny new notebook, and that's the shiny thing right now. So of course that's what I want to be using. But I would say, for the sake of today's live, I really have been consistently using my traveler's notebooks and really enjoying my time in them. In fact, part of the reason that I'm wanting to stick with this is I've really been enjoying my standard journal setup and how that is working for me, that I just kind of want to stay in Passport to keep the cohesive system. But I mean, I could use these two together too, but I don't know. Are you guys like that? My brain kind of like mentally locks myself in to things that I think pair well together. Like these work well together, and in my mind I'm like, oh no, you can't use those two together. Is anyone else like that? So I have to kind of like mentally break that down and be like, no, you can use whatever planner, whatever journal you want. They don't have to be a set, but my brain likes sets. So part of the reason I'm like, oh man, if I go back to this, then I go through the whole I gotta find the matching journal debacle. But we'll see where we land. But I think that's all I had planned to talk about and show you guys. Did you have any questions or anything else you want to see while we're live? I can understand that. It's why we do color pairing. Yeah, that's a good comparison. I'm like that too. Okay, so I'm not the only one, but for some reason it's a restricting mindset. I use 4 different brands for planning and journaling. I aspire to be you. Our brains naturally notice patterns. Yeah, that's true. And I think because I'm a big data driven person and I have a background in engineering, so I'm a huge pattern matcher. I like patterns and orders and specific things to be uniform, but I simultaneously like change because, I mean, look at this. So very interesting because I don't like change anywhere else in my life. Like if you rearrange my living room, I will have an emotional breakdown, but give me a new notebook and I'm like, yeah, I'm all for it. So I'm a pattern matcher too. I'm an engineer as well, a computer scientist. Ah, yes. Okay, so we've been trained to think similarly, Christina. Thanks, Melanie. It's good to see you. I'm dying to try a field note side TM, but I'm afraid to stray away from standard since it's working so well. Yes, I get that. There's like always a part of me that's like, okay, I see it and I want to try it, but I know that it's going to become my everything. Can you talk a little bit about what your Patreon is all about? Okay. So I do have a Patreon and, basically I've got 2 tiers. I have a Scribblers tier, which is pretty much content only. So we do a monthly patron live stream once a month, and I do a monthly memo at the end of every month where I flip through my monthly pages and talk about the month and do general updates like stationery favorites, things like that. So those 2 are guaranteed, and then I typically do a bonus 1 or 2 extra bonus videos. So if you become a Scribbler, I think it's $3 is what that tier is. You get access to my content plan for the month, like what's going up on YouTube, and you get at least 3 bonus videos from me between the live stream, the monthly memo, and at least 1 more, but usually it's 4. And then I have a Doodlers tier, which is $5 a month currently, and you get access to all that same content and stream and all of that. But then I also do a monthly sort of digital clip art pack. So you get PNG files that you can use to make your own stickers or make your own dashboards or wallpapers and things like that. And I also do some formatting into some printable dashboards, usually like 3 per size as well. And then also I have a Discord server, which is where we can all kind of share photos of our planners or just kind of chat about different things. And I'll share resources in there as well, and all patrons get access to that Discord server as well. So it's basically, if you're looking for like double the content or more consistent content for me, that's usually the place where I try to be more consistent. How long does it usually take for you to set up your habit trackers and collections? It sort of depends. At this point, I've been bullet journaling or planning for enough years where I know what's worth me setting up, if that makes sense. So the things that I set up at the beginning of this notebook, I have used year over year over year. So I take the time to set these up. This, like, drawing most of these out took me about 90 minutes last night. And like some of these are meant to be 2-page spreads, but I'll wait until I run out and then set up the next one. But when it comes to actually filling out, what am I trying to say? The filling out like my habit trackers, like keeping up with them, it takes me like 3 minutes every morning, because every morning the first thing I do is I flip through my habit trackers and I fill them all in for the day before. So like this morning I went in and I filled in all of yesterday's stuff from the 21st, and I'll just kind of flick through them so I remember that they all exist and go from there. But I'm the first to admit that I think there are two types of people in the planner community. There are those who are obsessed with habit tracking and motivated by habit tracking, and there are those of us that just cannot be bothered, and I'm firmly in the motivated by a habit tracker camp. So it's a little easier for me to keep up with it because I find it exciting to fill out, and I know not everyone is like that. So Discord server is the best. Yes, Jesse, it is. All the information's on my Patreon page. Yeah, usually I keep my Patreon page linked in the description box. I'll have to update it because I just went re-live on this, so I'll add it to here afterwards if you guys are interested in checking it out. But always no pressure. I try to do my consistent like 2 to 3 videos a month over here on YouTube, and you guys still get kind of the general gist, but Patreon is more of my experimental space and like background information, behind the scenes type stuff. I'll talk through my chaos a little bit more openly there because it's just a smaller community and we all kind of get it. So yes, and when I do my planner destashes, I put them on Patreon first, and then whatever's left over I put on Mercari, so patrons get first dibs for my destash items. Love habit trackers and collections. Yeah, they're my favorite part of planning. If I have a planning love language, it's habit tracking. But and then I'm really putting the pressure on myself, but I'm trying to get my Patreon shop launched at the end of the month, and it's going to be like a soft opening for patrons first, basically. So it'll be like password protected, but eventually that will be public. So don't feel like you're missing out. So I need to put together like a Rachel inspired like quiz to see what your planning love language is. When she did that, like, what type of planner are you? Do you guys remember when she did that? Right? Is it Rachel in Theory? I'm trying to remember her handle. But we need an updated version for what's your planning love language, because I know mine is habit tracking and setting up planners. So but sticking with them, totally different topic, but all right. Well, I think that about wraps up what I wanted to talk through today. I might need to take the footage from both those lives and like edit it into a nice video. But if you were able to make it, I appreciate it. And it was nice chatting with you. And thank you for dealing with my technical issue. I learn something new every time I stream, I think. So we might have to do a redemption version next month or something on a different live stream where hopefully things will be a little bit smoother. But I appreciate you guys sticking through it and giving me the feedback and all of that, so thank you. But also we'll probably see here in the next couple weeks if I decide to bump into this or not. But I think upcoming content, I did do a flip through of my Q2 bullet journal insert in my passport size, so I think that will be up next, and I just kind of chat through the spreads. So I think that'll be next weekend, and I guess we'll see what planner I'm in at that point, so I won't commit to any content beyond that video because I know it's filmed. But anyway, thank you so much for joining. I hope you guys have a really nice Saturday, and take care.